Please don't throw away my lunch, the young janitor whispered, her voice barely audible as she quickly pulled the worn paper bag from the office trash can. The CEO, standing just a few feet away, said nothing at the time, but something about the quiet desperation in her voice stayed with him long after she disappeared down the hallway. That evening, alone in his office, he opened the very bag she had begged him not to throw away, and what he found inside left him frozen in his chair. Before we begin, if you believe small, overlooked moments often carry the biggest lessons, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe to Daily Kindness for more heart-touching stories. And don't forget to tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to know where our amazing community is joining us from. Rosa Delgado had worked as an evening janitor at Bright Horizon Industries for almost a year, cleaning offices long after the last employees had gone home. She rarely crossed paths with anyone from upper management. Most executives left before her shift even began, and the few who worked late barely acknowledged her presence, treating her the way people often treat those they consider part of the background rather than part of the workplace. Rosa didn't mind the quiet. She used the long, empty hallways to think, to plan, to hold on to the small hope that things would eventually get easier for her family. She was raising her younger brother, Mateo, alone since their mother's health had declined the year before, juggling the janitorial job with early morning shifts at a bakery just to keep up with rent and Mateo's school expenses. Money was always stretched painfully thin, and Rosa had grown used to skipping meals so there would be enough for her brother's lunches instead of her own. That evening, working later than usual because of a scheduling mix-up, Rosa found herself cleaning the executive floor just as Daniel Marsh, the company's CEO, was finishing a late meeting in the main conference room. Daniel rarely stayed this late, but a critical contract negotiation had run far longer than expected, and he had sent his assistant home hours earlier, choosing to finish the final paperwork alone. As Rosa worked quietly nearby, gathering trash from the small kitchenette down the hall, she noticed her own paper lunch bag, carefully folded and reused for the third week in a row, sitting near the top of the office trash can, mistakenly thrown away earlier by a cleaning colleague who hadn't realized it still had food inside. Without thinking, she reached in quickly to retrieve it, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment as she noticed Daniel watching from down the hallway. "Please don't throw away my lunch," she whispered, more to herself than to him, quickly tucking the bag under her arm and hurrying to finish her cleaning cart before he could say anything. Daniel said nothing in the moment, unsure what to make of the exchange, but the quiet urgency in her voice lingered with him for the rest of the evening. Curious, and unable to focus fully on his paperwork, he found himself glancing toward the small kitchenette trash can later that night, where a second bag, nearly identical, clearly also belonging to the cleaning staff, had been left behind, forgotten in the rush of the evening shift change. Without entirely understanding why, Daniel opened it. Inside, he found a single slice of plain bread, a small handful of rice wrapped tightly in foil, and a folded note in careful handwriting, clearly meant for someone else. A note Rosa had tucked inside her brother's lunch that morning before her shift, accidentally grabbing the wrong bag on her way out the door. "Have a good day at school. I'm proud of you. Love, Rosa." Daniel sat frozen, staring at the small, humble meal in his hands. He realized, with a growing weight in his chest, that the woman who had quietly cleaned his office night after night for the better part of a year, a woman he had, if he was honest with himself, barely noticed at all, was skipping her own meals to make sure her brother never had to. He thought of the executive lunches catered daily in the very conference room he had just left, the food regularly discarded, half-eaten, without a second thought. The following morning, Daniel asked his assistant to quietly gather information about Rosa Delgado, not to reprimand her, as she nervously assumed when first called into his office, but to understand her situation. Daniel didn't make a public announcement. He didn't call a company meeting or issue a press release. He simply arranged, quietly and without fanfare, for Rosa to be moved into a full-time administrative position within the company, one with proper health benefits, stable daytime hours, and a salary that finally allowed her to stop skipping her own meals. He personally covered the cost of her mother's ongoing medical care through the company's employee assistance program, expanding its coverage specifically so other employees facing similar hardships could access the same support going forward. Rosa, overwhelmed and initially certain there had been some mistake, tried to explain that she hadn't done anything to deserve such generosity. Daniel simply told her that she had already done more than she realized. She had reminded him, without ever intending to, what it actually meant to work hard for the people you love. Over the following months, Rosa thrived in her new role, her quiet diligence and attention to detail quickly earning the respect of colleagues who had once walked past her without a second glance. Mateo, freed from the constant worry that had shadowed his sister for years, began focusing fully on his studies, eventually earning a scholarship of his own. Daniel, meanwhile, quietly implemented a company-wide policy ensuring that all surplus catered food be offered first to staff before being discarded, along with an expanded support fund for employees facing financial hardship, changes he never publicly attributed to any single moment, though those closest to him knew exactly where the idea had come from. Sometimes the smallest, most easily overlooked moments reveal the truths we most need to see. And sometimes, all it takes is truly looking at the people around us to understand the quiet sacrifices they carry every single day.